Dustin didn't deny what Matchmaker said. At first, he had thought that Julius might take the opportunity to make trouble, or find some excuse to place him under house arrest and stop him from leaving. To his surprise, Julius did nothing of the sort. He even handed over Matchmaker, one of the top beauties on the Rouge list, without hesitation. This attitude clearly showed goodwill. Whether Julius had other motives or not, at least on the surface, it was a decent outcome. Forget it. We'll talk about it later. Without overthinking it, Dustin took Matchmaker and left the residence. Time was tight now, and he couldn't afford distractions. He had to act before the two divine kings of the pantheon gods appeared, using Margaret's method to enhance his cultivation with dragon source energy. A short while later, inside a moving luxury car, Dustin leaned back on a soft cushion, gazing through the window at the passing scenery, his expression slightly grim. Beside him, Matchmaker wore a flowing red dress, her figure graceful and alluring. She turned her head slightly, eyes filled with both timidity and hope, and said softly, "Mr. Dustin, I have no home to return to now. From this day on, I can only follow you." Dustin frowned slightly at her words and turned to look at her. He saw her head lowered, long eyelashes casting a shadow under her eyes, and her rosy lips pressed together in a pitiful expression. He couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Matchmaker was clever and calculating, and he still didn't know what Julius was really up to. Bringing her along could bring all sorts of trouble, but remembering how she had helped him earlier, he couldn't bring himself to abandon her. "Miss Matchmaker, I'm a wanderer, with enemies everywhere. Following me would be extremely dangerous. It really wouldn't be suitable," Dustin said, shaking his head. "Mr. Dustin, are you trying to drive me away? In Julius's residence, I might have looked glamorous on the outside, but I was like a caged bird, constantly restrained. Now that I've finally escaped that misery, I was so happy thinking I could follow you. But I didn't expect you to be so heartless." Matchmaker looked up with teary eyes and stared straight at Dustin, her voice choked with emotion. The sight truly tugged at one's heart. "Miss Matchmaker, you've misunderstood. I'm not trying to drive you away. It's just that the current situation is complicated, and I'm constantly surrounded by danger. I'm afraid it'll bring trouble to you too," Dustin quickly explained. A flicker of cunning flashed through Matchmaker's eyes, but she still pretended to be delicate and weak. She moved closer to Dustin and spoke softly. "Mr. Dustin, I'm not afraid of trouble. From the moment I first saw you, I knew you were extraordinary, noble in bearing and destined for greatness. I'm willing to follow you, to help you with your burdens. Even if it means going through fire and water, I won't hesitate." Her voice was gentle and mesmerizing, her warm breath brushing against Dustin's face, adding to the ambiguous atmosphere. Dustin leaned back, pulling away from her slightly. He coughed twice and said, "Miss Matchmaker, things aren't as simple as you think. The trouble I'm facing is far greater than anything involving Julius. But of course, I'm not the type to burn bridges. You helped me, so I'll make sure you have a place to stay and some gold and silver to ensure you'll never have to worry about food or clothing." Seeing his reaction, Matchmaker didn't push further. She simply nodded gently and said, "Then I'll leave everything to your arrangement, Mr. Dustin." She knew very well that if she pushed too hard, it would only backfire. Though she was interested in a capable man like Dustin, the two were, after all, barely acquaintances. She wasn't the type to cling shamelessly. With her beauty and intelligence, finding a promising partner wouldn't be difficult. Of course, if the opportunity came to win Dustin over, she would try her best. After all, someone that even Julius valued so highly was definitely one of the rare elites in all of Stonia. Half an hour later, the car stopped in front of a luxury hotel. This place belonged to Margaret and had official backing, perfect for settling Matchmaker in. At the very least, it would avoid unnecessary trouble. After all, a top beauty from the Rouge list would draw attention wherever she went, and without strong backing, she'd be overwhelmed by suitors. Once Matchmaker was settled, Dustin got back in the car and headed towards Sun and Moon Tower. He had already arranged to meet Margaret there once the task was complete. 15 minutes later, the car pulled up at the entrance. Since he had notified them in advance, Dustin was able to enter smoothly, passing through the main hall and into the back garden. Same place, same room. Margaret had been waiting for a while. Dustin pushed open the door. Seeing Margaret sipping tea, he raised his hand and placed 2 jade boxes containing dragon source energy onto the table. "Mission accomplished. I've got the goods," Dustin said. I expected it to take you at least 3 days. I didn't think you'd return so quickly. That's truly delightful, Margaret replied with a slight smile. She personally poured Dustin a cup of tea and pushed it in front of him. The tea was warm, just right. Now that all 5 Dragon Source energies were gathered, the real show was about to begin. I'm honestly surprised we managed to bring back the Dragon Source energy smoothly this time. In fact, I was already prepared to fall out with Julius, Dustin said. Oh? What makes you say that? Margaret raised her brows slightly, intrigued. Dustin didn't hide anything and explained the entire incident in detail, including Julius' uncharacteristic friendliness today, as well as Matchmaker stepping in to mediate and even pledging her loyalty. What do you think Julius is up to? He was so suspicious of me before and almost attacked me. Yet the next day, he acted like a different person, overly warm, even sending me a renowned beauty from the Rouge list. It's really baffling. Dustin shook his head. In my view, this likely has something to do with Julius' mother, Consort Spanner, Margaret said after a moment of thought. She's a deeply calculating woman. She must have realized Julius isn't your match right now, so rather than oppose you, it's better to win you over. By sending Matchmaker to you, on one hand, it's a gesture of goodwill. On the other hand, it allows her to stay close to you. If the chance arises, she might even be used to Julius' advantage. However, whether she's truly a spy is still uncertain. Given how shrewd Julius is, if he really wanted her to act as an informant, sending her so openly would be too blatant. Dustin stroked his chin, thought for a moment, and said, That may be true, but it's always wise to stay cautious. I still feel something's off about all this. In that case, why not just accept Matchmaker into your fold? Margaret chuckled slyly. With me arranging things behind the scenes, even if she has ulterior motives, she won't be able to stir up any trouble. After all, beauties from the Rouge list are rare. If you let this opportunity slip, you might regret it later. Hearing this, Dustin rolled his eyes and replied, Quit teasing me. I'll observe her for now. If she turns out to be harmless, I'll figure out where she fits in. For now, let's get back to business. Margaret's smile faded, her expression turning serious. Now that you've gathered all 5 strands of Dragon Source energy, you can use this opportunity to break through. But before that, I need to make some preparations. Fusing the Dragon Source energy into one and channeling it into Dustin's body wasn't a simple matter. She would have to set up a formation and utilize the right timing and geography. Do you need my help? Dustin asked. No need. Margaret shook her head. Just stay here and rest today. Tomorrow night, come meet me 50 miles west of the city at Sunset Mountain. I'll handle everything. All right, then I'll leave it to you. Dustin nodded and didn't say more. As the sun sank in the west, bathing the sky in golden hues, in a secret stronghold of the pantheon gods within the capital of Stonia, Zeus and Hera sat side by side, exuding a natural aura of authority. Zeus was tall and muscular, with golden hair blowing in the wind and an overwhelming presence radiating from his body. His sharp, eagle-like eyes seemed to see through everything. Hera wore an ornate gown, her beauty stunning yet tinged with regal majesty and divine grace. Before them stood over a dozen elite members of the pantheon gods' hidden forces in Stonia. Each was a Grand Master-level powerhouse. This was the strongest force the pantheon had left in Stonia. Usually scattered and operating separately, they had now all been summoned here for one purpose: to eliminate Dustin Rhys and reassert the might of the pantheon. It's already been 3 days. You still haven't found him? On the makeshift throne, Zeus let out a cold snort, his powerful aura instantly pressing down on everyone in the room. The crowd felt their bodies go heavy, as though a mountain had settled on their shoulders. Some even began trembling involuntarily. Lord Zeus, we've already deployed all our agents. We believe results will come soon. A massive man over 2 meters tall reported respectfully. He looked like a bear and was incredibly intimidating, but in front of Zeus and Hera, he was as meek as a sick cat. I'll give you 1 more day. If he's not found by then, I'll sacrifice one of you to the gods for every day of delay. Zeus growled. The group turned pale, drenched in cold sweat, but didn't dare utter a word. They knew Zeus wasn't bluffing. If they failed, death was the only outcome. Lord Zeus! Lady Hera! We have news! Just then, a blonde woman in a tight leather outfit hurried into the hall. Oh? Zeus and Hera raised their heads at once. You found Logan? Yes, my lords. According to my informant's investigation, Logan has been staying at the residence of Dragon Marsh's third prince, Julius, for the past couple of days. It appears he may be seeking asylum. Humph. He thinks hiding behind Julius will keep him safe? Ridiculous. Zeus snorted. If Logan were hiding in the Imperial Palace, guarded by that old man from the Astrology Bureau, he might hesitate. But a mere third prince? He didn't even consider him a threat. Lead the way, Hera said coldly. A chilling aura of death radiated from her body. Night gradually fell. At this moment, two figures hovered silently above the residence of Julius. Gazing down from above, they took in everything within the estate at a glance. The intruders were none other than the god kings, Zeus and Hera. This is the place. Zeus and Hera exchanged a glance, then transformed into two streaks of light, crashing down heavily in front of the main gate. The shockwave instantly knocked the two guards unconscious. Zeus casually raised his hand, and with a thunderous boom, the estate's main gate exploded on the spot, reduced to dust. A powerful aura immediately enveloped the entire estate. Who dares to trespass in the residence of the third prince? Hearing the commotion, Zhang He and Wu Yong, two of Julius's personal guards, rushed out with a large force of soldiers, quickly surrounding Zeus and Hera. As they felt the terrifying pressure emanating from the two, Zhang He and Wu Yong couldn't help but feel deeply alarmed, their expressions growing increasingly tense. Where is Logan? Zeus asked coldly, standing with hands behind his back, completely disregarding the armed guards around him. I don't care who you are. Leave immediately, or don't blame us for being rude. Zhang He shouted sternly. Foolish. Zeus let out a cold snort, and gently raised a finger. A thick purple bolt of lightning shot out, slamming heavily into Zhang He's chest. Boom! In the next second, Zhang He's body exploded, disintegrating into a cloud of blood mist. What? Everyone was stunned, their faces full of disbelief. General Zhang was their strongest warrior, his power close to that of a peak grandmaster. He was one of the top fighters even in all of Stonia, yet no one could have imagined that such a powerful man would be killed in a single blow. He didn't even have a chance to resist. I'll ask again, where is Logan? Zeus demanded coldly, lightning crackling at his fingertips, radiating terrifying pressure. At Zeus's level, killing a grandmaster was no different than crushing an ant. Are you the god King Zeus of the Pantheon? Wu Yong quickly realized who they were facing. The man's Western appearance, along with the lightning power that could instantly kill a grandmaster, left little room for doubt. It had to be Zeus. Humph. At least you're not completely ignorant, Zeus sneered. Since you know who I am, then answer my question honestly, or all of you will die. Sir, the one you're looking for, Logan, isn't here. He already left. Wu Yong responded quickly. He guessed the person Zeus was looking for was none other than Mr. Logan. Left? Zeus frowned slightly. Where did he go? Logan is like a dragon. He appears and vanishes unpredictably. We don't know his whereabouts. You don't know? Zeus's expression turned cold. Then there's no use in keeping you alive. Wu Yong quickly shook his head in panic. Just as Zeus raised his hand again to kill, Wu Yong cried out. Wait. Although we don't know where Logan is right now, we can help you investigate. Our network covers all of Stonia. We can definitely find him for you soon. Hearing this, Zeus slowly lowered his hand. Although the Pantheon had some forces in Stonia, they were limited and couldn't operate openly. If Julius's men helped, it would make things easier. I'll give you 1 day. If I don't get the information I want by tomorrow, I'll level this entire estate to the ground. Zeus threatened. Absolutely. We'll make sure of it. Wu Yong nodded repeatedly. Before someone at Zeus's level, he had no room to bargain. If he said the wrong word, a single bolt of lightning could turn him into ashes. Right now, survival was all that mattered. As for what came after, that would be for Julius to decide. We're leaving, Zeus said bluntly. With a single step, he launched into the sky and vanished into the night. Hera, on the other hand, exhaled a breath of black death energy at the soldiers. The dark mist surged into their bodies. Don't even think about escaping. If you fail, you'll all die. She sneered, then vanished into smoke. After the two had completely disappeared, Wu Yong collapsed to the ground, legs trembling, drenched in cold sweat. The rest of the soldiers were also pale as ghosts, clearly shaken by the encounter. The pressure from Zeus and Hera was simply overwhelming, especially the sight of Zhang He's body exploding, that left a scar on their hearts that would last a lifetime. After sitting there dazed for a moment, Wu Yong finally regained his senses. He quickly got up and ran toward Julius's courtyard. This was no longer something a deputy commander could handle. He had to report this immediately to His Highness. If possible, they would need to call in experts from the Imperial Guard to counterbalance the threat. Whether they could actually stop Zeus and Hera, that was another matter entirely. Wu Yong stumbled into Julius's courtyard in a panic. His clothes were soaked with sweat, and fear still lingered on his face. Julius was sitting at his desk, deep in thought under a dim lamp. Hearing the hurried footsteps, his brow furrowed slightly as he looked up. Your Highness! Something terrible has happened! Wu Yong burst through the door in a frenzy, completely ignoring proper etiquette. What is it? Julius's frown deepened, his expression darkening. His estate was so large that the earlier sound of the gate being broken hadn't alarmed him. Your Highness, just now the god kings Zeus and Hera from the pantheon gods suddenly stormed in and attacked us. General Zhang tried to stop them, but Zeus raised his hand and struck with lightning. General Zhang died instantly. Wu Yong forced down his fear and quickly recounted what had happened. Having been through battle, he normally wouldn't be this frightened, but Zhang He's death had been too sudden. In the blink of an eye, he was reduced to a mist of blood, leaving no trace behind. The sheer brutality of the scene had shaken Wu Yong to his core. That was a powerful martial arts grandmaster, yet in front of a god king, he was no more than an ant. It utterly shattered Wu Yong's confidence. What nonsense are you spouting? Why would the god kings of the pantheon come here? And even kill my men? Are you sure you're not mistaken? Julius's first reaction was disbelief. He had no grievances with the pantheon gods. In fact, he had even conducted some shady dealings with them in private. No matter how he looked at it, there was no reason for the pantheon to assassinate him, let alone dispatch two god kings. God kings of the pantheon were powerful figures who could influence an entire nation. Their movements were never taken lightly, and they certainly wouldn't act rashly over something unprofitable. He couldn't make sense of it, and found it hard to believe. Your Highness! I swear it's true! General Zhang's remains are still scattered at the gate. I wouldn't dare lie! Wu Yong cried out in despair. How could this happen? I've never wronged them. Why would they target me? Julius's face was grim. It's because of Mr. Dustin. Wu Yong dared not hide anything and hurriedly added. The two god kings came looking for him. General Zhang was killed just because he didn't respond quickly enough. If I hadn't quickly offered to help them track Dustin down, they might have stormed the residence and endangered your highness as well. Dustin? Hearing this, Julius's expression darkened even more. He had suffered significant losses trying to win Dustin over. Even after his treasure vault was destroyed and the dragon source energy stolen, he swallowed his anger, all just to leave a good impression and pave the way for future cooperation. But never did he imagine that Dustin would bring such immense trouble. Trouble that could cause the Pantheon to send two god kings across the land to kill. If he chose to protect Dustin, he would definitely offend the two god kings and risk disaster. But if he handed Dustin over, he would offend the West Lacosia royal family and undermine his own credibility. All his prior efforts and investments would go to waste. No matter what he chose, it was a losing scenario. Your Highness, what do we do now? Zeus gave us 1 day. If we don't give them a satisfactory answer before sunset tomorrow, they'll come again. Wu Yong's face was pale. Damn it! What a huge mess to be dragged into out of nowhere! Julius gritted his teeth, his face fluctuating between rage and panic. A single misstep in a situation like this, and he could end up with nothing. Prepare the carriage! I need to go out. After a long pause, Julius suddenly made his decision. There was only one person he could turn to for advice now: his mother. Whenever he faced major difficulties, he would consult her, and every time, she found a way to resolve the issue. The appearance of the god kings was beyond his ability to handle. He had to rely on his mother and the power of the Spanner family to maneuver through this. Night fell. Julius, along with Wu Yong and a few close aides, rushed to the forbidden city at top speed. To avoid attracting attention, he even went in disguise. Fortunately, the journey was smooth, and he soon arrived at the palace of Consort Spanner. At the time, Consort Spanner was reading under the lamp. Seeing her son arrive in such a panic, she frowned in concern. "Julius, what happened? Why are you in such a rush?" "Mother, I've gotten into trouble." Julius didn't hold anything back and carefully recounted everything that had happened. After hearing it all, Consort Spanner's expression turned grave. She raised a hand, motioning for him to sit, and ordered tea to be served. After a moment of silence, she finally spoke. "This matter is not without a solution. If handled properly, it might even turn into an opportunity." "Oh? Mother, do you have a plan?" Julius looked at her with hope. "Regarding Dustin, send someone to inform him that the 2 god kings from the Pantheon are here to assassinate him. Tell him to be extremely cautious. Use this chance to sell him a favor," Consort Spanner advised. "But mother, if we do that, won't the Pantheon god kings come after me instead?" Julius frowned. "Don't worry, let me finish," Consort Spanner said with a light smile. "To Dustin, you offer him a favor. As for the Pantheon, you can redirect the disaster, find a scapegoat. That way, you won't offend the West Lacosia royal family, and you can keep your hands clean. Isn't that the best of both worlds?"
And just can't accept it. This can't be the end yet. You promised to never leave, and now you're gone. Can't believe I can feel the world slipping away as you slowly fade from my everyday. You promised forever, a love without end, but now I'm left broken, struggling to mend. I thought we were so tied, destined for a lifetime, love with no end, love with no end. Staying in my imagination, memorizing the past time, the secrets, the love, the care, now they're echoes in the air. I still see your face in every place, feel your warmth, your gentle grace, but now there's just an empty space, and I'm lost in this endless chase. Keeping you in my heart, a piece of you I'll never